They found bones buried in her backyard, human bones. In our small village in Ghana, Auntie KorKor was the heart of the marketplace. People came from all over to eat her famous Waakye. Her pots never seemed to run empty, and her spices always hit the perfect notes. Auntie KorKor herself was a big woman, with a booming laugh and a smile that could disarm anyone. But her eyes, they told a different story. There was something dark about them, something I didn't understand until it was too late. When I was 16, I worked for her. My parents needed the money, and Auntie KorKor paid more than most. It felt like an honor to work for someone so respected, but the first day, she made it clear there were rules. "Never look inside the big pot," she said, her voice low, "and never come here at night. If you can't follow my rules, you can leave now." I thought it was odd, but I nodded. What choice did I have? We needed to eat. The first few weeks were uneventful. Auntie KorKor cooked with precision. She sang as she stirred her huge pots, humming old songs from her childhood. The Waakye she made was irresistible, and her line of customers stretched far into the street. My job was to chop vegetables, serve plates, and sweep the kitchen floor. But there were always whispers. People talked about Auntie KorKor like she wasn't human. Some said her pots were enchanted, that she'd made a pact with spirits to ensure she never ran out of food. Others joked that her Waakye was so good because she added special ingredients. The village's stray dogs and chickens had a funny way of disappearing near her house, but no one ever asked questions, not out loud anyway. Then one day, everything started to feel wrong. It began when I arrived early one morning just as the sun was rising. I called out to let her know I was there, but no one answered. The kitchen was empty except for the big wooden bowl on the counter. Normally, Auntie KorKor was always nearby, humming or muttering to herself, but the silence that morning felt heavy. Curious, I stepped closer to the bowl. A cloth was draped over it, and I hesitated, remembering her warning. But something drew me forward. My hands moved on their own as I lifted the edge of the cloth. The smell hit me first, iron and rot. The bowl was filled with chunks of raw meat, but it didn't look like goat or chicken. It was pale and stringy, and there was something in the corner that looked like a finger. I gasped and dropped the cloth, stumbling back just as Auntie KorKor appeared behind me. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time she didn't smile. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice sharp. I didn't mean to look," I stammered. She grabbed the bowl and covered it again. Her usual warmth was gone, replaced by something cold and menacing. "Mind your business," she said. "If you can't follow my rules, you don't belong here." I didn't say anything, but after that I started noticing things. Auntie KorKor never bought meat from the market. The large bags she carried into her kitchen late at night weren't from any known butcher. And when I asked her about it once, she told me to keep my mouth shut. Still, I couldn't quit. My parents needed the money, and I couldn't bring myself to confront her. But the uneasiness grew worse, especially when rumors began to spread about a child who had gone missing. It was the little boy who used to play near Auntie KorKor's house. He'd been seen chasing a ball toward her backyard, but never came home. The village searched for him for days but found nothing. One night, I broke a rule. I woke to the sound of something heavy dragging across the ground. My house wasn't far from hers, and when I looked out the window, I saw a faint light coming from the shed behind her house, the one she always told me to stay away from. Curiosity got the better of me. I threw on a cloak and crept through the shadows toward the shed. The smell reached me first, pungent and sickening. It was the same iron-like odor from the bowl, but 10 times worse. I peered through a crack in the shed's wooden door, and what I saw nearly made me scream. Inside were bones, piles of them, not animal bones, human bones. A skull sat on a table, staring at me with hollow sockets. Auntie KorKor stood in the middle of the room, her hands covered in blood as she worked on what looked like a fresh body. She was humming that same tune she always sang while cooking. I stumbled back, bile rising in my throat. The door creaked slightly as I moved, and she stopped humming. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice sharp. I didn't wait to find out what she'd do if she caught me. I ran, tripping over roots and rocks as I raced home. The next morning, I went straight to the village chief. I told him everything, from the bowl to the shed. At first, he didn't believe me. Who would? Auntie KorKor was the village's treasure. But after gathering a group of men to search her house, they found the shed. Her reaction was chilling. As they dragged her into the village square, she laughed, deep and loud, her big belly shaking, as if the whole thing were a joke. "You'll regret this," she said, her eyes darting between the villagers. "You'll all regret it. Without me, who will feed you?" The village elders burned her shed, and Auntie KorKor was banished forever. But even after she was gone, her shadow lingered. Stray dogs still disappeared. People reported hearing humming late at night, coming from the burnt remains of her shed. And no one, not even the bravest hunter, dared to eat Waakye for months afterward.